Okay, how many of you have heard the common phrase, well, you did X and you turned out fine, or we did X and we turned out fine? I feel like this is a common thing that happens, especially with mamas who are trying to do and have more of a holistic approach. Whether it's you ate sugar as a child and you turned out fine, or you ate fast food as a child and you turned out fine, or we didn't co-sleep and you turned out fine, or we did sleep training and you turned out fine, whatever it might be. I feel like this is such a common phrase that kind of gets thrown in our face a little bit when we are trying to do either a holistic approach or just a different approach in general than maybe our parents, our grandparents, our family members, our cousins, our aunts, our uncles, our in-laws did. So I want to go into two different thoughts on this common phrase that we hear. The first one is that I think sometimes that response is a justification is a little bit of a harsh way of saying it, but a validation for the choices they made with either you or themselves previously. So for example, a parent might say, well, you ate sugar as a child and you turned out fine. Might not really be about the actual, like, you did it and turned out fine. It might just be a justification or a validation, or just trying to find a sense of security. Maybe they're feeling a little judged around you're doing something different than they did. So they're feeling judgment, and so they're validating that with, but you did it and you turned out okay. So sometimes recognize that it's not even about the thing itself. Sometimes it can just be a protective mechanism that people are doing because maybe they feel judged, or they feel guilt that they wish they would have done, or they just didn't know better at the time. So that's one thing. The second thing is I want to talk about this term fine. What is fine? Because if we talk about children, 1 in 2 children have one chronic health condition. That's not fine. And most of us, whether we had the most amazing childhood, whether we are able to hold down a job, raise a family, do multiple things, be the amazing, brilliant mothers that we are, most of us to some degree have had to work on something because we weren't fine. So I think about the idea, well, you had sugar and you turned out fine, or you ate fast food and you turned out fine. But then I think about, well, I've had a gallbladder removed. I've had massive amounts of digestive issues, hormonal imbalances. I've had a lot that I've had to do. And emotionally, I mean, I came from parents of divorce, and it wasn't like it was this big traumatic experience, but even that has still had to have me have some emotional work done to unwind. This term of fine, I find, is a really shitty way to justify something. You know, you may have somebody that says, well, in my day, we didn't have to buy organic, all this non-toxic, super special, expensive products, whether that's laundry detergent or hand soap, cleaner, makeup, lotions, all this kind of stuff. But then I would say, do we have more cases of infertility now or less? So this term fine, I think, is so ridiculous, and we really need to examine what fine looks like. And even older generations that say they're fine, are they fine? Do they have chronic health conditions? Because I don't think they're fine. Lastly, the world is not what it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. We have seed oils and processed chemicals to make the shelf life of foods last longer. We have glyphosate in our air. We have lack of nutrients and minerals in our soils, meaning lack of nutrients and minerals in our foods. There's chemicals everywhere in everything. It's not the same world. So you can't say just because you did this as a kid, you're fine. The world is not the same when you were a kid.